Welcome everyone, join us today on a journey through the remarkable career and personal life of Frank Ifield. From his early days in Australia to his meteoric rise in the UK charts, he graced the world with one of the most iconic voices in music history. So let's dive in. Frank Ifield, born Francis Edward Ifield on the 30th of November 1937 in Cowden, Coventry, in England. Born in England to Australian parents Richard, an engineer, and Muriel, Frank was one of 7 sons. The family had moved to England in 1936 for Richard's career, and during World War II, he worked for Lucas Industries, developing the Ifield pump for a top-secret jet engine project. As a young boy, Frank developed a love for hillbilly music and taught himself to yodel, inspired by country artists like Hank Snow. At 9 years old, he would yodel while helping deliver milk in Birmingham. In January 1948, the Ifield family returned to Australia, settling near Dural, northwest of Sydney. Frank's father opened a factory, and Frank took on the task of milking the family cow, Betsy, who only calmed down when Frank yodeled to her. For his 11th birthday, Frank received a ukulele, marking the start of his musical journey. Later, his grandmother gifted him a guitar when he was 13, fueling his passion even more. That same year, Frank made his way onto Radio 2GB's Australia's Amateur Hour, performing Bill Shomet's "Did You See My Daddy Over There?". He began recording for Regal Zonophone Records, which also launched the career of Slim Dusty. His first recording was "There's a Love Knot in My Lariat" in 1953, followed by "Did You See My Daddy Over There?" and a cover of Abdul Abulbul Amir, backed by his own composition, A Mother's Faith. By the age of 19, Frank had already released many records. However, his career was briefly interrupted in 1957 when he had to complete 6 months of national service. Upon his return, Frank worried he would have to start from scratch, but the young charismatic singer quickly found a niche on the new medium of television. He appeared on Channel 9's first music show, Campfire Favorites, followed by Make Ours Music, Country Style, and Bandstand. On these shows, he offered a smoother alternative to the rising tide of rock and roll. Frank recorded 6 singles with the backing group Dick Carr Buckaroos, including Whiplash, which became the theme song for the British-Australian TV series Whiplash from September 1960 to mid-1961. This exposure caught the attention of key industry figures in London, including Australian Peter Gormley, who was set to manage Cliff Richard, The Shadows, and Olivia Newton-John. Gormley offered to represent Frank if he returned to England, bringing him one step closer to performing at the Palladium. In early 1959, Frank toured New Zealand's North Island, where his single, Guardian Angel, hit #1 on local radio charts. That year, he also had 2 top 30 hits in Australia with True at number 26 and Teenage Baby at number 23. Later in November, he returned to the UK and began recording for EMI. His first single, Lucky Devil, narrowly missed the top 20, and several subsequent releases failed to chart. With his contract on the line, Frank's final session with Norrie Paramor produced a hit, his cover of I Remember You. The song became a massive success, topping the UK charts for 7 weeks, reaching #1 in Australia and #5 in the US. It sold over 1 million copies, an exceptional feat for a British recording at that time, with more than 100,000 copies sold in a single day in 1962. Frank's following single was a double A-side featuring Lovesick Blues and She Taught Me How to Yodel in October 1962. Lovesick Blues, originally by Hank Williams, was given an upbeat, let's twist again vibe, while She Taught Me How to Yodel showcased Frank's yodeling skills, culminating in a high-speed, all-yodel finale. The single topped the UK charts, reached #2 in Australia, and hit number 44 on the US Billboard Hot 100. Despite being advised by his management to avoid yodeling, Frank performed She Taught Me to Yodel as an encore at a Royal Variety performance in November 1962, fulfilling a special request from the Queen Mother. His next release, Wayward Wind, made him the first UK-based artist, after Elvis Presley, to score 3 consecutive #1 hits on the UK charts, and it peaked at number 16 in Australia. In 1963, Frank's UK chart hits included Nobody's Darlin' But Mine, #4 in April, Confessing, #1 in June, Mule Train, #22 in October, and Don't Blame Me, #8 in December. That same year, he performed at the Grand Ole Opry, introduced by his idol, Hank Snow. Many of his records were produced by Norrie Paramor. Frank was also featured on the 1964 compilation Jolly What, alongside the Beatles, a move seen as an attempt to capitalize on Beatlemania. Despite the changing music scene, Frank continued to chart with songs like Angry at the Big Oak Tree in April 1964, I Should Care in July, Paradise in August 1965, No One Will Ever Know in June 1966, and Call Her Your Sweetheart in September. Status Quo members were among his biggest fans. Under Peter Gormley's management, Frank embraced pantomime, supper clubs, and tours with artists like Duane Eddy and the Everly Brothers. He starred in the London Palladium pantomime Babes in the Wood in 1965, a prestigious role reserved for the year's top stars. Frank twice competed in the UK heats for the Eurovision Song Contest, finishing second in 1962 with Alone Too Long, and last in 1976 with Ain't Gonna Take No for an Answer, and posing before cameras for the 1965 musical drama film, Up Jumped a Swagman. In 1968–69, Frank toured Japan, where he was well received. However, the pressures of touring led to breathing issues. In 1988, after returning to Sydney to recuperate, his lungs collapsed. Surgery to repair them was successful, removing part of a lung, leaving him unable to use his singing voice. He then transitioned to talent scouting for the Midday Show, and became a TV and radio host for It's Country Today, on the 9 network. Despite his health challenges, Frank remained active in the music industry, mentoring young country artists and later recording a successful duet of I Remember You with Nikki Gillis, which led to her tours in Britain. In 1998, Frank established the Frank Ifield International Spur Award, which has honored artists like Melinda Schneider, Wayne Horsburgh, Wayne Law, Donna Boyd, Travis Collins, Nikki Gillis, Kirsty Lee Akers, Joanna Hamara, John Stephan, and Donna Fisk. Gillis and Horsburgh particularly benefited from Ifield's mentorship, performing alongside him and the Seekers' Keith Potker in the show, When Aussies Ruled Britannia, a blend of music and stories about their British chart-topping hits, which toured Australia and England. In 2007, Frank was inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame. Personally, on the 6th of July 1965, Frank Ifield married Gillian Bowden, a dancer at the London Palladium, at Marylebone Register Office, London. The couple had 2 children, a son, Mark Philip, and a daughter, Sarah. In 1992, he married his second wife, Carol Wood, a flight attendant, and they lived a quiet life together in Dural. Sadly, on the 18th of May 2024, at the age of 86, Frank Ifield died in Hornsby Hospital in New South Wales of pneumonia. It is said, every person who came upon him, in any circumstance, was overwhelmed by his kindness and courtesy, and nobody had a bad word to say about him. And there you have it. Thank you for joining us in celebrating the life and legacy of Australian-British singer, Frank Ifield. His unique yodeling style, unforgettable hits and his contributions as both a performer and mentor, have left an indelible mark on the music industry. Though he's gone, his music continues to resonate with fans old and new, ensuring that his legacy lives on. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tributes on your favorite musical icons just like this. Until next time, take care and bye for now.